Hi guys, it's me. Welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to apologise for the really bad audio on this video. It will be better next time. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi. I post true crime content like this all the time. So if that's something you're interested in, hit that subscribe button, give it a like. And yeah, let's get on to today's case. So for today's case, we're going to Houston, Texas, back in 1965. On June 23rd, an elderly couple named Fred and Edwina Rogers were murdered in their own home in Montrose neighborhood in Houston. 73-year-old Edwina and 81-year-old Fred lived with their 43-year-old son, Charles Rogers. On the 23rd of June 1965, Edwina's nephew Marvin began to become a little bit worried about his auntie and uncle because he'd been trying to contact them, but he had no reply for several days. He contacted the Houston Police Department to go and carry out a welfare check, just to check on things, to check if his aunt and uncle were okay, and to put his worries at ease. 2 officers from the Houston Police Department were sent to the Rogers household to carry out this welfare check. These officers rang the doorbell several times, and they were peeping through windows to see if they could find the couple, but had no luck. In fear that something bad had happened to this elderly couple, the officers decided to break down the door to investigate further. When they entered the house, nothing seemed to be amiss. No one was home though. Fred and Edwina were nowhere to be found, and their son Charles, who lived with them, was not home either. A fresh dinner was found on the dining table, even though nobody was home. It looked like someone had prepared a meal and then gone out, having left the food on the dinner table, which is a bit strange, isn't it? After a search of the house, the officers were getting ready to leave the Rogers home when one decided to check in the refrigerator. In the fridge, there were neatly stacked piles of unwrapped raw meat, and obviously the officers thought this meat was just like pork, beef or something like that. You know, something just a family would keep in their fridge. But this officer then looked down, and right by the bottom near the vegetable drawers, you know how in a fridge there's drawers at the bottom, he saw 2 severed heads. These were the heads of Fred and Edwina Rogers. Now you're probably asking, what were those stacks of meat in the top of the refrigerator? Well, that was the dismembered limbs and torsos of the elderly couple. Some of the remains had never been found. However, the organs of Fred and Edwina were later found by police in a sewer as the killer had flushed them down the toilet. The remains were taken for testing, and it was confirmed that the human remains found in the refrigerator were that of 73-year-old Edwina Rogers and 81-year-old Fred Rogers. The autopsy found that Edwina had been beaten and then shot execution style in the head, and Fred had died from several blunt force trauma wounds to the head, where he had been struck over the head with a claw hammer. The killer had also gouged out both of his eyes. His genitalia had also been removed by the killer. Police had found that after the murder, the dismemberment had taken place in the upstairs bathroom. Testing actually found that the couple had been murdered 3 days prior to the discovery of the remains on June 20th, which was Father's Day of that year. It was said that the killer had good knowledge of human anatomy and that they had dismembered the bodies amazingly well. The killer had cleaned the whole house thoroughly to get rid of any DNA and blood evidence. However, a trace of blood was found, leading to the bedroom of 43-year-old Charles Rogers. And now remember, Charles wasn't accounted for. And the police didn't believe that he had been murdered by his parents' killer. So where was he? In Charles's room, they found what was believed to be used to dismember the bodies. It was a keyhole saw covered in blood. And because of this, and the fact that Charles was nowhere to be seen, 43-year-old Charles Rogers became the prime suspect for the murders of his own parents. So now we're just going to talk about Charles for a bit, get his backstory and just see what he is like. So Charles Frederick Rogers was born on the 30th of December 1921. His relationship with his parents growing up was not a good one. He really did not get on with his parents because he was allegedly, I have to say allegedly, but he was physically and psychologically abused growing up. The Rogers household was actually in his name and not his parents, so technically the house was owned by Charles. It said that Fred and Edwina would financially abuse their son as well. They would steal from him and they would take out loans in his name. The relationship between Charles and his parents was so bad that they wouldn't even speak to each other. This next part I find a bit weird because, well, the way they would communicate is by writing letters to each other, which is strange to me because they live together and their relationship is so bad that they don't even speak to each other. Like, imagine living with your family and just sending letters instead of speaking. Police believe that Charles had hit his breaking point, and after all the abuse he had received by his parents, he just decided to end it and kill his parents. Charles was described as very intelligent by people who knew him. He had a degree in nuclear science and he could speak 7 different languages. Which, if that doesn't prove he's smart, I don't know what is. I can barely speak English sometimes. Charles worked in the US Navy during World War II, and he worked as a seismologist, which is the study of earthquakes. It was also rumoured that he was part of the CIA, and that he was involved in the assassination of the US President John F. Kennedy. A book named The Man on the Grassy Knoll was released in 1992 and came up with this theory. I don't know where this theory came from, but it's believed that if this theory is true, though, that he was involved, that Edwina and Fred had found out about his involvement in the assassination and threatened to hand him in to authorities, and then he killed them to keep them quiet. The case became very popular and was named the Icebox Murders for obvious reasons, because they were kept in the fridge. Well, the remains were found in the fridge. So, back to the timeline now. Charles Rogers is the prime suspect in his parents' murder case. He was nowhere to be seen, and so a search was set up and a warrant was issued, as he was a material witness for the crime. However, Charles Rogers has never been seen again to this very day. 10 years after the murder in 1975, Charles was declared legally dead, and his whereabouts were not known, so it's believed that's why he's believed to be dead. Now, there's never been any evidence to support this claim, as the body's never been found, but he was born in 1921, so it's pretty certain that in 2022 he would be dead, so makes sense. In 2003, a novel was released by a couple named Martha and Hugh Gardner called The Icebox Murders. The couple had been extensively investigating this case, and 38 years after the murder, their book expressed their theory of what happened to Charles Rogers. Their theory is that Charles planned and carried out the murders of Fred and Edwina, and that after he escaped to Mexico and was actually murdered himself while he was in Mexico, and that's why he's never been seen again. The Rogers house was demolished in 1972, and since then, legally this case is unsolved, but it's strongly believed that Charles Rogers was the one responsible for the murder of his parents. So let me know down below in the comments if you think it was Charles, what you think happened to Charles, if you believe the theory of him being murdered in Mexico, and let me know if you believe he was involved in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. I'd really like to know that down in the comment. Now I'm going to plug myself for like a minute. So if you want to see more of me, follow my Instagram, my TikTok. You can, because I'm going to start posting little mini things on TikTok. You can follow me on my podcast, even though I've not posted in ages, but I promise I'm going to get on that. You can subscribe to my second channel, so you can either go on this channel's homepage, or you can click the channels tab, you know, where it has home, like videos, playlists, channels. You can click it there, and I think that's, or I'll put a playlist if you want to see more videos that I've posted. So thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, leave it a like, subscribe, put my notifications on so you see every time I put a new video, which I'm going to try to do more, even though I'm back at college now, so that's taking my time up. But I'm going to try my best to post as often as I can. So the videos might be shorter from now on, but we'll see. So I'm going to go now. I've rambled for enough, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.